I am hot off the trail of the Ped Jam here. I even got the shirt. Today let's talk about festivals. Specifically, music festivals. The Peddler's Jamboree, here you can probably read, maybe you can read that. It is a music festival, but it is one that takes place on the Katy Trail, kinda off the Katy Trail. You go on the Katy Trail, and for those of you that aren't from the area, which is pretty much everybody, the Katy Trail is an old railway that got turned into essentially a bicycle and walking path, and it goes all the way across the state of Missouri. And there's a bunch of little offshoots that go to towns here and there, and that is probably being done in your neck of the woods as well. I know Georgia has a whole system of old railways that have been converted into paths just like that. So maybe y'all are familiar with that kind of path. And it's really fun to go down. You can ride, I mean, you can ride for hundreds of miles in this state on it. Maybe in your area it's not quite as long, but even so, it's a good chance to be able to get out and just see some odd parts of the country, if you will. And what these Peddler's Jamboree folks did is they said, all right, you're gonna start from the middle of Columbia, literally downtown Columbia, and you're gonna pedal for 33 miles to another town, Boonville is what it's called. And then right off the trail, almost literally right off the trail, you kind of got to go through Boonville itself, which is a teeny tiny town. You get to where their venue is. But as you're going down the trail, on the the 30-mile trek, they've got people playing in these little bitty towns, like towns that are maybe 100 people tops. So they've got stages set up, and there's people selling stuff, and it's a festival. It's really a festival, and it's super fun, really, really fun. And since it's a state park, I guess you can drink in state parks in Missouri, and so there's a lot of people getting hammered on the trail. And not everybody, of course, because you're pedaling 30 miles and getting drunk while you have to also pedal 30 miles. It's not easy button. It's definitely, it makes it so much harder once you get a little buzz on it. You're like, I still got to go 15 miles on the trail. It kind of makes it hard, in my opinion. Maybe some people, maybe you love to drink and ride your bike. Maybe you do like that, but to me, it makes it just even more difficult. And by the time we were there, it was, I was pretty toast. So, took a nap when we got there. Although it didn't really take that long. I think it was maybe 3.5 hours on the trail, which is a decent clip, averaging about 10 miles an hour with a couple stops here and there. So yeah, I'm wondering, do they do anything like this in your neck of the woods, or do you just like to go to music festivals in general? This one, the Peddler's Jam, is a mix of like country-ish, honky-tonk, rockabilly, just all sorts of stuff. It's all live band type thing. There's no AI music there at all. And it's really a good time. And they play music for hours and hours and hours, and all the music on the trail. And there's so many people on the trail. I don't know how many people actually went this year. Many thousands. It was definitely many thousands that were on the trail. And honestly, one of the both fun and frustrating parts about it is how choked up the trail gets with people. It's like a 8 a.m. start time, and they say close off at 10. We waited until noon to get on the trail, and that made it to where there wasn't anybody there until we started getting to the stops, and then we were catching up and getting really into the pack. And the frustrating part is that you've got a lot of people that maybe don't ride bikes at all, or they haven't ridden since the last year. And the etiquette on the trail is a big part of being able to ride safely, and not everybody understands that etiquette. People, maybe drunk, swerving all over the place. Sometimes there'll be a pile up. Sometimes there'll be a literal pile up where, somebody gets rear-ended or whatever, and then you have like this crash of bikes, depending on how fast people are going. And I've seen a few. It gets kind of hairy sometimes, but not always, right? We're out there to have fun, and most people are going maybe 10 miles an hour, so the crashes usually aren't spectacular, but sometimes things happen. And then there's the aspect of getting really tired. And this is similar to my stories of going on float trips, honestly. And maybe you've experienced this. If you do things like float trips or long bike rides, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's how people will get so tired and hungry. Maybe they haven't drank enough water, maybe they drink too much beer, whatever the case is. And you start getting temper tantrums. And I saw some kids having temper tantrums on the trail because, I mean, you're expecting like, what, a 10-year-old to ride 30 miles on the trail? There's not a lot of 10-year-olds that can do that. And they're gonna get fussy when you're getting back on the trail, even if it's only half of that, 15 miles. For some of the kids that I saw on the trail, it's like, wow, y'all are really having fun out here, aren't you? No, you're absolutely not. And you can either prepare for that by having a tow behind or something to where you can let your kid rest, or you have somebody like pick you up halfway, I guess. We saw some of that. Otherwise, your kid's grinding it out. And, you know, I saw some kids having meltdowns. I saw a lot more adults having meltdowns on the trail. And that, in my opinion, can be hilarious. Now, not for the person that's involved, obviously, but to me, watching an adult get themselves into a situation like this and maybe being tired, maybe being hungry, not knowing what they're getting themselves into potentially, and then having a meltdown, I do find a little bit of hilarity watching this happen because you're an adult and, you know, okay, so maybe this is the first time or whatever, and I totally give a pass for any of this. I'm not trying to judge at the same time, but after being on this so many times and seeing the same patterns over and over where people get over their head or they're just not prepared, you know, I for instance, preparation, I did use an e-bike this year, but I was also towing like 80 pounds of stuff behind me. And so I was having trouble even with the e-bike helping to hold 13 miles an hour. Whereas the people that were on bicycles around me in our group, you know, 13 miles an hour is like, okay, this is super easy. Do you want to go 15? I'm like, I don't want to go any faster. Number one, if somebody darts out in front of me at 15 miles an hour with 80 pounds in a trailer, it's probably going to end badly, right? But on top of that, just the handling and, you know, like, no, I'm cool at 13. I'm cool at 12. I'd be cool at 10, to tell you the truth. But I've done it a few times. And I don't remember what my point was to, to any of this. Oh yeah, preparation. The cooler was half filled with water, and then the other half was food and booze. You know, a little bit of booze can be fun. But I also had at least 2 tubes for any of the tires, and we had 3 different tire sizes. So I had 6 tubes with me. You know, we got the 20-inch on the trailer, we had the 27.5 plus on my e-bike, and then we had the 700 by, you know, 35 millimeter fat tire road bike of that one in there. And so I had that, I had my pump, I had my levers, I had a patch kit, and then of course all the water and food on top of all of that. And what else did I, you know, I had a hat for the sun. You know, I wanted to bring an umbrella, but riding a bicycle with an umbrella isn't always the easiest thing. So there's a lot of preparation. And then there's the camping at the end. I didn't even get to the camping part. So you get to this place, the Peddler's Jam, and the music goes to like midnight or whatever it is, and then it's time to camp. So you have to somehow either bring all your camping stuff with you or do a shuttle situation, which is what we did. We drove the car with all of our camping equipment to the venue the day before, dropped it off, you know, 2 cars, 1 car stays, 1 car goes, and then we were able to ride our bikes on the trail all the way to the venue, get our stuff out, set up our tents, and then put our bikes into the car and just head out the next day. We didn't have to do 30 miles back. And it was kind of nice, but again, more preparation. And maybe me being a river kid and doing that whole shuttle situation and having all your camping gear when you're in a canoe or a kayak and everything, maybe that prepared me. And maybe this is something that you've had experience with. I'd love to hear your stories. Maybe they're fortunate stories, maybe they're good time stories, maybe they are adult meltdown stories. I'm sure we all have experienced that if you've been on this sort of situation. So yeah, we were prepared. It was a great time. I didn't get sunburnt. I got very tired. Yes, of course I did. You know, about 15 miles in, you're like, man, my butt really hurts. But hey, I was also prepared, and I wore the padded shorts, whatever they're called, riding shorts. I don't know these days. I actually had a bib, a full bib. I've started wearing bibs when I go mountain biking now because they don't go down, they don't go up. It works out pretty good. It's kind of I think it's the new thing. This is what the folks at the bike shop told me, at least. I used to work at a bike shop, and I have no clue what's going on in the industry anymore, but it hasn't changed too much, except for all of the components on the bikes. Those are all different now, but you know, they's a changing, and I'm not going to shake my fist at this cloud because I had a great time. So let me know. Tell me some stories if you go to any festivals like this, or just music festivals in general, or if you have experienced these adult meltdowns on some fun trips. I'd love to hear about them. So thanks for hanging out with me. See you later. You've made it to the end of the video. Hopefully that means you liked what you saw. If you want to help out the channel, you can like, subscribe, and definitely comment down below. We would like to hear new ideas from you, so be sure you let us know what you'd like to see. There are some other suggestions probably floating by my head right now that you can check out, and otherwise we appreciate your support and your help growing the channel.